Work and career. Depending on who you ask and when you ask them, work and career are two simple words that create satisfaction or frustration, longing or revulsion, feelings of success or failure, and unbridled hope or dejection. Some people work to live, some live to work, but a large number of people can't wait to stop working. Yet many of the most important things in our lives are supported by work, whether it's work that one wants to do or not. The vast majority of workers in the world take jobs to support a home, transportation, family, and other necessities of day-to-day life. Most people hope to steadily move up in the work world, often to simply make more money. And while money can't buy happiness, it certainly can alleviate worries and hassles. Polls consistently show that the vast majority of Americans, over 80%, believe more money can lead to more happiness. Another way of looking at it is that money can certainly alleviate anxiety or unhappiness. But as a person makes more money, they typically adjust to a higher lifestyle and eventually need even more money. I'm not saying it's wrong to do this, it's just an observation. The idea of people having a career comes from several related factors. As society becomes increasingly complex, more and more specialists in every conceivable field have become needed. Within each specialty, there's a hierarchy. In general, the higher one goes up the hierarchy, more responsibility is taken and more money is received. At the same time, it's just as true that a large portion of workers never think about a career. They simply look for a job and let the cards fall where they will. Their circumstances and location often determine what work is available for them. Some years ago, I was given an interesting piece of advice about how to decide what sort of work I should do. I wasn't told who first expressed this advice, but I'm sure the idea has been around for some time. Here's what I was told. Discover what you really like doing, then find someone to pay you to do it. It's a simple idea that has some flaws, but it also holds some genuine truth. I found that it wasn't exactly true at the beginning of my career, but it did seem to be more and more accurate as I aged. But just about anything you can think of can be a paying job. Some people are paid to drink beer. Some people make their money fishing. Some people make a good living by traveling and staying in various motels and reporting on their service. Some people drive cars or trucks for a living. Lots of people are paid to talk on the phone. Of course, the list here could be nearly endless, but you get the drift of it. The problems with this simple idea emerge with a frequently asked question, what's the catch? Yeah, there's always a catch. For example, people who are paid to drink beer have to sip small amounts of many different types and batches of beer, and they have to make written records of each sip. The list of catches can be nearly endless. You might have to fill out questionnaires. You might have to move. You might not make as much money. Your work hours might not be convenient. You might have to work on holidays or weekends. You might lose some benefits. You might need better transportation. You might need a new wardrobe. You might get really dirty. There are many other catches, but the point's probably been made. The purpose of this discussion isn't to help you decide on a career or a job, but to remind you about how complex such decisions can be. People often remain in jobs they don't like because they fear making changes. At the same time, there are some people who haven't given their choice of a job much thought at all. How did you decide on your present job and career? The starting point of this group program asks you to think about how you got here into this group. That might seem odd to you, but it isn't odd at all. We're beginning in the present moment, the here and now. Before you complete the exercise, there's an important issue for you to consider. You have to be honest to make this program beneficial to you. That might be a bit more difficult than you probably think. Honesty means more than telling the truth to others. It also means you have to be honest with yourself. And the truth is, we often fool ourselves. There's a simple example from psychology experiments that helps explain precisely what I mean. Researchers have carefully studied how people explain good and bad things that happen to them. For example, let's say that two people walk into the same casino at the same time. Each person has $200 he or she is willing to lose. They both play slot machines. One of the people loses the $200. The other person hits a jackpot and wins $5,000. Quite often the person who wins the $5,000 says that he used the system or had a feeling about a certain machine. In brief, this person somehow takes personal credit for the good thing happening. On the other hand, the $200 loser usually says it was bad luck. Bad luck really means it wasn't my fault, but the $200 loser probably also had a system and feelings about certain machines. In reality, casinos cannot lose money when it comes to slot machines, and everyone knows or should know it. For every $5,000 winner, casinos typically take in $5,500 from losers. It's all run by computers that constantly calculate how much money has been gambled and how much of it needs to go back to the gamblers to keep them gambling. A highly scientific area of psychology and economics called reinforcement theory has determined precisely how often gamblers need to win so that they don't get frustrated and quit gambling. That's why they give small wins rather frequently. It's also why the machines make a distinctive sound when someone wins, no matter how small the win is. The continual sound of the winners is an effective way to manipulate people into thinking they have a good chance of winning. It's all been worked out statistically through research. It might be true that certain machines seem to pay off better than others, but play slot machines long enough and you'll always get behind. Now here's what's most interesting about this to me. It's not really random or completely chance, but it's not skill either. It's carefully manipulated in a background that most of us never see and never really understand. The background underlying slot machine playing changes with each player and changes again when you slide a player's card into a slot machine. It recognizes who you are, basically knows how often and how much you gamble, and knows generally how much money you're worth. Parents and their children often develop a slot machine type of reinforcement in their interactions. Parents reward children when they perform tasks the parents desire. Children reward parents when parents perform tasks the children desire. But it's not quite that simple. Children will often ask for the same things over and over until they get what they want. It's like they're pulling the handle of a slot machine, knowing that if they pull it enough times, mom or dad will probably pay off. The reward for the parent is that the child will quit whining, at least for a while. The reverse is true also. When a parent repeats the same orders to children over and over, the parent is pulling the handle of a slot machine. Most parents and children have some awareness of how this operates, but it's often a bit vague to them. The work world works in a similar way, but we'll get to that later. When people get great jobs, they might occasionally say they were lucky, but more often than not, they somehow take credit for it. When people lose jobs, they might occasionally say it was their fault, but most of the time, they blame someone else for the situation. Now, the point here is not that any of this is wrong. The point is that people who get jobs or lose them typically don't see the entire situation. So maybe it's necessary to repeat the key thing that was stated at the beginning of this section. You have to be honest to make this program beneficial to you. What honesty means is two different things. The first is obvious. It's telling the truth, not deliberately lying. But secondly, honesty means being realistic and seeing things as they really are, at least to the extent that's possible. Things are always swirling around in the background. The only element in this that you can fully control and understand is you. So let's start with a simple exercise that starts with you in the here and now.